Welcome to the Strategy Sherpa Show, a series of organic discussions between hosts David Chavez and a variety of notable business leaders centered around their most significant failures and how they handled those challenges, so listeners can learn from their most teachable moments and apply the lessons to their organizations. Now, here's your host, David Chavez.
Hey everyone, this is David Chavez. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and boy, do I have a special guest for you today, and I will introduce him in just a moment. So I just wanted to remind everybody of some of the things we have going on. We have a webinar on how to improve your cash position. Hold on. I need to learn how to say position, DJ. Position with 7 simple levers, key financial levers. And Warren Sager, one of our team members, will be doing that on April the 4th from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. And then on May the 8th, we'll be in Portland, Oregon, doing a scaling up workshop. And I'm going to be doing that with Ted Servata, one of our senior strategy coaches. And then on the 23rd of May, we have Mastering Efficiency, Process-Driven Tactics for Cost Savings. That is being done by Preston. And Preston is actually a certified Six Sigma black belt. And he is going to talk to us a little bit about processes. But DJ, we do this show because business owners, a lot of young business owners out there, they get started doing something, and experienced ones. I shouldn't even exclude us because we still do it too. They get out there and they start doing something, and then there's a lot of self-judgment about mistakes they make, right? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to show them that sometimes when we make decisions, we think they're the best decisions in the world at the time, and then they just go sideways on us, right? And it ends up being a little bit of a nightmare for a while you fix these things. And we're trying to help them understand that that's part of really growing your business, right? And so that's what we're doing here on the Strategy Sherpa Show. And so let's welcome DJ Allen. DJ, you and I have known each other. We were talking right before, about 30 years now.
Yeah, and I was going back thinking your very first tease there was about a cash, I think a cash flow, if you will, seminar coming up. And I remember the first lesson you gave me when I was starting my business was, DJ, never forget the 2 most important words in business are cash and flow. And as simple as that is, I am glad that's something that to this day I still fall back to. You know, sometimes it's the simplicity of it. But yeah, it's been a long time, great relationship. So excited to be here and love the topic of talking about what can we learn from? Are we coachable?
Yeah. And you wrote a book. So to give a little bit of give a little flavor to what you've been doing. The first company I met you with, you had a marketing company.
Yeah. So Imagine Marketing, now Imagine Communication still exists. Alex Raffi, Brian Ruff, who partners, they
awesome
do an
guys.
do an amazing job. And that was the first company. And so that was really external marketing. And I remember, you know, being in my MBA and learning about internal marketing. So external marketing is, as decision makers, we're making promises to customers. But internal marketing is, do your employees know what those promises are?
Yeah.
Because employees are the only ones who can deliver them. And so I really switched from going from external marketing to internal marketing, working with teams and leadership development. And along the way, got really close with Lon Kruger, who just got elected into the College Basketball Hall of Fame. And he was the head coach of UNLV at the time. We wrote a book almost 15 years ago called The X's and O's of Success. And it's really about the things that we can learn from sports and put into business and life. And, you know, he went on to coach another 11 years at Oklahoma. He's now back in Vegas. His son, Kevin, coaches the Running Rebels, who had a strong year here this year. And we love what we do. And we look at life being a team sport.
But hold on, I'm in Austin. We're not allowed to talk about Oklahoma at all.
Oh, I know. When Coach Kruger went to Oklahoma, I learned all about the Red River rivalry. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter ended up going to Oklahoma and graduating.
It's like dynamite here. It's like dynamite here. I'm telling you.
But we got a lot of friends down in Austin at the in the athletic department with the basketball program. So we understand. But it is special, isn't it? What a rivalry! When it's special. I'm so glad I learned about it.
Yeah, it's been great. And a lot of people still here go to school up in Oklahoma. So even though there's that rivalry, there's a lot of camaraderie between the two also. So it's interesting and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And listening to some of my neighbors who are longtime residents, and just the deep competition between the two. Every once in a while you'll see an Oklahoma flag waving out in front of somebody's house, but for the one Oklahoma flag, there's 20 UT flags. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, my daughter's gone down to the Cotton Bowl, the
okay.
past 4 years. In fact, she had graduated, went down last year, met her friends, and just knowing that that's a part of, her life now, and that rivalry and what they do and the fair down there. It's just, yeah, it's been special to be a part of. So when I know you moved to Austin, I was like, okay, he gets that. Yeah, we understand that world a little bit.
Yeah. So, hey, you tell everyone, because I see your sign behind you there, and it's the name of your company also, but also you wrote a book called The
Yeah.
X's and O's of Success. Share it
Yeah,
with the audience a little bit.
and I was talking about with Coach Kruger, it's you take little things from sports, right, that we can learn, and how coaches really think in sports, the great ones, and how can we take that and put that into life, because there are so many things that we can learn of, and we're not talking about hit a home run, slam dunk. No, we're talking about, like, how does an underdog win a game? What's the underdog's margin of error? So when a coach understands, they have a team that's an underdog, they understand they have no margin of error, and then the team that's expected to win maybe doesn't have that focus, and there's slippage. Well, a great coach wants his team to play like they're the underdog even when they're not. So there's no
Right.
margin of error. So there's little things like that. Do we do that in business? Accelerate through impact. Any great athlete, when you're swinging a golf club, if you're confident, if you're prepared at that moment of impact, you accelerate. Well, do you accelerate through impact in business? Like, if you have that client ready for the pitch, do you accelerate and go back to the office, get the proposal done? Why they're excited for it, or all of a sudden, do you take your eye off the ball with your company itself at that moment when you're just about ready to have that great success? All the indicators are there. Do you take your foot off the gas, and all of a sudden, you're buying the cabin somewhere a little bit too early? So there's all those little things that we could learn of, but most importantly, we talk about life being a team sport. And David, I think that the biggest thing that we do, and when you look at how we grow leaders, in sports, rarely does a great producer or a all-star player become a great coach. If you're a sports fan right now, or not even a huge sports fan, if you think about the greatest names, you're down there in Texas, Popovich, the Belichick's, and rarely does a great player become a great coach, because it's a different mindset.
That's
But
correct.
in business, who do we promote? The
The best player.
all-star players. And we don't always give them great training. So you almost have to rewire them to say, okay, what made you a great player isn't going to make other people a great player. So that's where we spend a lot of our time, is really teaching rising leaders.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And what you said is really important, because we talk about it a little bit on here. There's two reoccurring problems that keep coming up when we're helping companies also. Process management, of course, and then the other thing is that the lack of leadership in the middle management, because of that problem that you just described. We're promoting our great tradespeople, or we're promoting our great employees who do a great job. We promote them to leader, but we forget to train them.
Yeah. Well, you really think about it. There's process and there's people, right?
Yep.
And it's a combination of the two. And we see it in sports, where analytics have become so big in sports, but you can also see that sometimes it shifts too far to analytics. Like, if you look at sports, you can't just run a team on paper. Now, you can't ignore it. And at the same time, you can't just be completely about people. It has to be about processes. You have to bring in analytics. So just like sports, business is a combination of the two. You
Yeah.
got to have the processes on lockdown. And then, are you able to treat people? Do they know you care for them? Do they know you want them to be successful? So it's that balance. So it really is, business is a team sport. And a lot of people just like to talk about sports. So we use the platform, the metaphors of sports, to make people better.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the analogy there. So on the Strategy Sherpa show, what we do, because how long have you been doing this? Just share that with the audience because I don't think you covered that because I think it's really important because there's a lot of coaches out there. And I think when I entered this business and being a CPA for years, where you have clients coming to you because of compliance reasons, right? Now you have to go out and find your clients. I find out there's a lot of coaches out there, sort of like almost like financial planners when I was a CPA. And a lot of them probably never really took the time to learn how to become a coach even. And so that's another thing that I see quite a bit. But let's talk a little bit about how long you've been doing this.
Yeah, started a marketing company 25 years ago. And I think our stories are a little similar where, again, you were a CPA, you were classically trained as a CPA. I was classically trained, have an MBA in marketing. And like you, I think at some point when you start offering the services and working with the people at the level we were working with them at, it was very natural for us to go into really the coaching.
Right.
So there is the background like you have with the pure CPA. You get that part, and that's so valuable now when you're working with the coaching, maybe a little bit of the bigger picture. I think it's the same for us. Like I started by saying we do internal marketing. I mean,
Right.
that really is what leadership is to us, is do your employees know what the promise is? Are they willing to deliver it? So for 25 years, I've been an entrepreneur and, love small business. And, during that time, it's funny, thinking about this show and thinking about that history, you just begin to go, wow, I've made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but, but rather than looking at them at mistakes, just understand, are you coachable?
Yeah.
Like people ask us all the time, like you work with high performers, leaders and athletes and coaches from around the nation, like the top people, what do they have in common? And I'll tell you that one of the top things is they're coachable.
Yeah.
Like they want to get better, and to want to get better means to understand that I can get better, and we need to be strong enough to look at our mistakes, not hide from them. So I love
Yeah.
this show because it's based on being coachable.
Yeah, and even though they're great, they still want coaching, right?
No,
Yeah, they even want it even more because they're great, I think.
yes, and if you look at athletes, I mean, they are coached day in and day out in the moment. And if you look at one of the problems that we make in business is first off, we don't coach our people enough. Right? We don't coach people in the moment. I mean, David, could you imagine if like even LeBron, right, going to be one of the greatest of all time? He already is, but he still thinks he can get better. That's the mindset. But
That's
could you
my
imagine in sports if we coach people like once a year in an annual review? Like, oh, yeah, he's struggling going to his right now, but I'll wait until July to address that in his annual review. Like, no, what are we doing? But we do that in business.
Oh
Like,
no.
we need to understand as coaches in business, as leaders, right? A coach's job is to make someone else better. Well, give them more rapid routine feedback. Coach in the
Right.
moment.
Right. And I loved how you talked about analytics and people, people and processes and analytics. And one of the things I share with my clients quite often is that, and I'm a CPA. I love KPIs, right? But KPIs don't answer questions. They create the questions, right? That you should be asking. And I love how you said that because basically you were saying, I can't run my team from analytics. I still have people I'm dealing with, right?
Yes. And it's the balance. I
Right.
mean, you look in the 2020 World Series, the Tampa Rays, I mean, they're run off analytics, and Blake Snell, their star pitcher in game 6 of the World Series. Like on paper, it's like, well, he gets to 75 pitches, he's done. Well, it's game 6 of the World Series. What are you saving him for? He's dominating my Dodgers, dominating them. But they take him out after 73 pitches, and within 3 batters, the game was over.
Right.
It's like
Yep.
Blake Snell last year with the Padres was throwing 100 pitches a game. Like you cannot let analytics just drive every decision. It's a balance. At the
That's
same
right.
time, though, if you don't have analytics, if you don't have the processes, you're done. But
You're
it is an
blind. Yeah.
absolute balance of people and processes, whether it's business or whether it's sports.
Yeah, and I love how you said that because you're blind without analytics, but
Yeah.
then you don't want analytics ruining your thinking at the last moment, right? And the questions that you need to be asked. Maybe they should have taken a break and asked if he was still okay. So that would have probably been a little bit better of a idea. But hey, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back. We didn't get a chance to share your thing yet because you and I, ever since we first met, we could talk for hours once we get going. So we'll come back and we'll talk about your what your issue was, and then what you did to overcome that issue, because that's the more important part for a lot of our listeners.
I always tease this. It was a big issue that a lot of young business people, and sometimes not young, deal with.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll look forward to it. Hey, this is Strategy Sherpa Show. This is David Chavez with DJ Allen from the X's and O's of Success, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is David Chavez. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and I am sitting here having a conversation with a longtime friend of mine, DJ Allen, and he's going to start sharing some wisdom about one of his challenges that he had as becoming an entrepreneur and growing companies. So, DJ, floor is yours.
You know what? The challenge is something that was overarching. And I'd been running my company for about 5 years now. And my son, I'll get to that in a moment, because that's what really made me confront it. But I did some reading one night. A buddy of mine knew I was getting into philosophy and human nature. And I came across a passage that said this. It said, there's only 2 reasons in the world why we hate. The first reason why we hate is because someone has done something to harm us or a loved one, thus we hate. And the second reason is envy. Now, Aristotle described envy as the pain one feels due to the good fortune of others. Man, and I remember reading that night, David, and dude, not only did it make sense here, it pierced me in my heart.
Yeah.
Because not only, I mean, shoot, I can remember going back to being in preschool and kindergarten. And if I was being honest with myself, and I was that night for the first time, maybe ever, like, I was so wired by envy my whole life. And I think a lot of high achievers, we don't talk about this, right? We're wired by it. And there's the comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. So I went all through school, and on paper, I looked good. Shoot, you knew me. We met on the board of the Salvation Army,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm coaching Little League. I'm a lay preacher at my church. But what people didn't know is that envy ran my world. I just compared myself all the time.
Got to keep up with the Joneses, baby.
Right. And so if you think about that, as I'm young running a business, I'm doing everything for the wrong reasons. I'm with clients. Like, the ego is so big, you don't admit it because you're a high achiever. The ego is so big, you keep working with people that you can't, it's not going to turn out well.
That's right.
You're not celebrating successes because I'm comparing myself. Well, they got this client and they're doing this. And it was brutal. It was just a brutal existence. And so now you think you're living this dream. This is my big mistake. I think I'm living this dream of having this small business, wanting to do it for the right reasons, not having to answer to people, that entrepreneurial dream. And first off, we know when you're an entrepreneur, you're actually working for your clients. We get that. But I didn't allow myself to enjoy any of it, because all I did was think about what I wasn't and compare myself. And it wasn't until my son was 2 and he was diagnosed with autism that it made me confront this comparing, because nobody told me how much I was going to compare my kids, right? Let alone me. And it was through that challenge where I began to understand, like, I can't compare him. Because I found myself, I was comparing him. I was already ruining my life. I was going to ruin his life. And it was through that experience. And I'm going through about the same time I meet Coach Kruger and we're writing the book. And And I begin to realize you can be literally, he's a Hall of Fame college basketball coach.
He is.
And he's as competitive as anyone I know, but he rooted for others. Like, I learned not only did I have to not compare myself, like, there's enough room in this life for other people to be successful. And when I made that switch, not only of making the choice not to compare myself, but I made a choice to root for others, life changed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, professionally, more success than ever, personally, happier than ever. And,
But oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
go, David, go.
Well, you were I remember you and I talked about this shortly after, and there was the book The Prince.
Yeah, no,
right?
That's the funny thing. You remember that? Yeah, it's
because that conversation changed my way of thinking about it. Like, both of us were doing the same thing. I was growing a CPA firm for all the wrong reasons,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I was trying to grow this marketing firm for the wrong reasons. And again, we have, when I got the invite to do this, David, I was like, wow, how, what a God wink that is, right? To come in and have the conversation and to see your growth, to understand my growth and the change. And so when I look back on, I have made a lot of mistakes in business, right? You got to own it. And that's one of the things, we teach too. There's so many people afraid to make mistakes. Right. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is not weakness.
That's correct.
But when you challenge me to say what was the biggest, it's this huge overarching one. And so I don't know if that resonates with people listening right now.
Oh, it resonates with them, believe me.
Right. Like, listen, like comparison is the thief of joy. And when I began to understand, like, listen, there's enough room for everyone to be successful. This is not a zero-sum game. And it just changed the way I was wired. It changed the way I felt. And ultimately, it made me such a better business person. Because until we're the best individual, we can't be the best person we are in business. Until we're the best me, right? I can't be the best dad. I can't be the best husband. But I would have never thought getting into this, that this would be, if you would have told me when I started the marketing company when I'm 24, 25 years old, I would think mistakes were about cash flow, or mistakes were about this client, or mistakes would be about strategy. No, mistake was about what was in here, and in my heart.
Yeah.
And it's just life-changing when you begin to say, it's okay for other people to be successful. And in fact, root for them, because like life is a team sport. And I have found that I have a lot more people rooting for me when I'm actually rooting for them. And when you have people rooting for you, you have more of a chance to be successful.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And I love how you're saying this, because, as you know, I help people develop their strategy. And one of the most interesting parts when I'm helping people develop their strategy, they're looking at their competition as part of that process. Right. And you're hitting it right on the head, because I sit in so many rooms where they've looked at their competition and there's so much envy that they're basically trying to copy what their competitors are doing, and they're not just doing what they do.
Like the greatest athletes, I love it. If you hear like Tom Brady, I mean, Tom Brady's talked about as the GOAT. Like, if you listen to Tom Brady, he'll tell you, I never set out to be the GOAT. Like, people put that on me. He said, I just wanted to be better than I was yesterday. And that's not a cliche for the best. Right. There's an old saying that says, winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. And that's who I was. I focused on winners. I focused on the competition. It's like they weren't focusing on me. No, just focus on being the best you.
Yep.
And it took me a long time. But when I realized, like, the only person I have to be better than today is who I was yesterday, everything changed. Because when I had envy running my life, I wasn't actually getting better. I was focused on, why does he get this? Why does she get that? Instead of like turn envy into emulation. Like, yeah, you can learn from them. Why does he get this? Why? But I finally started to say, oh, I need to be better. And envy makes us just focus on everyone else, and we don't actually improve. So it was
Yes.
wild. Once I began to actually say, okay, I need to worry about, am I getting better? I got better. And it hit the bottom line. I mean,
Yeah.
my cash flow, going back to our first conversation about business, my cash flow got better once I stopped focusing on what everybody else had and I didn't have. And once I started focusing on get better.
Right. And, you know, like you're saying that one of my team members not too long ago asked why I don't obsess over financial information. And I say, well, we look at the financial information. I mean, it's not like we don't pay attention to it. They go, yeah, but you're a CPA, and I would have thought that you would have been a lot more focused on the financial information. And I said, hey, financial information is important. I'm not going to say it's not, but financial information doesn't pay our bills. And I go, what do I obsess over? And they thought for a few minutes, and it took them literally a few minutes to think about it. I just waited patiently while they were answering the question. And they said, well, you're always talking about the customers. And I said, is there really anything else for us to worry about? And they just looked at me and they said, no, I don't think so. And deliver to the customer, the money will be there. The money's just the result of the activity, right? Of taking care of your customer.
And in sports, there's only so many things that you can actually control, right? So what the coaches and the top players do is they know they're going to lose, right? And
Yeah,
it's like
part
the
of the
bottom
game.
line is wins and losses, and fans. That's all we look at. Coaches like control the controllable. Are we trusting the process? Are we doing what we can do? There's going to be losses. I mean, teams do not go undefeated in sports. They don't. The last NFL team to do it was the Dolphins almost 50 years ago. They pop champagne every time a team loses in the NFL, right?
Right.
Tom Brady talks about that a couple years ago against the Giants in the Super Bowl. Dude catches the ball on his head, right? If he doesn't make that catch, the Patriots are the greatest team ever. Like, and Tom Brady says it, like, that's what happens in sports. Weird things happen. But when we control what we can control, we have the great outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's the same in business. But so many times, and I know it because I lived it, I can't control what other people are doing. And I'm
Nope.
giving all my energy to that. And life's about energy. It's not about time. And it was such a waste. And once I turned it positive into I'm going to root for other people. Like, I'm going to be a fan of other people, and I'm going to compete against me to get better every day. Life changing. Get
Yeah.
game over. Not only in business, but also as a dad, as a friend, as a husband.
Yeah, and also when you're copying other people or being obsessed to what they're doing, then you just want to copy them, and then you're just like them, and so now you're in a pricing situation versus this other place where you could be, where you're providing what you do the best you can do it. So
Yeah. And you just run paranoid.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
No, all of
paranoid.
us get there.
But
All of us get there
yeah.
because our mind plays tricks on us, right? I mean, I know you talk about that in the X's and O's of success in the book itself. You talked about that.
Yeah. In fact, when we come back from the break, let's talk about that mental diet
Yeah.
because it's so real in our world.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll do that because that mental diet really helps us understand the way we look and approach things on a day-to-day basis. So this is Strategy Sherpa Show. We have DJ Allen, and we are having an awesome conversation about what it really takes to grow a company. And so we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Well, DJ, I should have had you bring a shill into the show so that somebody could actually call once, because I think we've had a call once since I started the show, so we don't get a lot of calls. But hey, I want to show you this, and everyone, you can see this down at the bottom if you're on the video part of this. This is DJ Allen right underneath Lon Kruger's name, so it's the X's and O's of success. And you know, I got on, and I wanted to share this with you, DJ. This is no longer in print on Amazon. and and it's not on Kindle. I think you need to do that, because I went through and reread this book, and I was like going, this book is really good.
I know we most of our sales are bulk sales, and we do everything. We've kind of let that slip, but had a couple people mention that recently. So I appreciate you always challenging me. We do. We need to get back on that.
And you need to get the audio version done, because a lot of people listen now. And I'm telling you, there's so many small lessons in here, and it's so easy to listen. It would be easy to listen to this book in chunks, right? Because the stories are relatively simple and keep within a certain amount of pages.
And you know, they're 40 lessons. They're about 3-4 minutes each. And because I wrote it, there's no big words in it. So it's very easy read. And the other
that
part,
way
though,
I could read it though, too. That's why you did that.
And the other part, I always like to tell people, if they ever get a chance to read it, is if there's any parts they don't like, they don't agree with, those are coaches and not mine. No, that book was
call on. Don't call me.
Those books, it was life changing. I was writing the book when I was going through the challenge with Daniel being diagnosed.
Yeah.
You know, and just him being in my life at that time, and you know, it's just a choice. It's a choice to change.
I know you you had introduced me to Lon Kruger, and I was doing work for him also.
Yeah.
And I got to know him as a person, and I think you described him really well. What a very giving person. And you could just feel his leadership by being sitting next to him. He didn't even have to say anything.
No. And I think in a short format like this, to just talk about what I truly learned from him and like to share with others, is kind, genuine, sincere, right? Humble as anyone I know of, but at the same time, as competitive
Hardcore.
and secure as anyone I know. And it makes me think about like humility. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's simply thinking of yourself less often. And
no, hold on. I remember that breakfast. Do you remember the breakfast we had? You don't remember, do you?
oh no.
Okay. Well, I gotta. I want you to finish your point first, then we'll come back.
Oh no,
to
I'm getting old. I finished it. Let's talk about hey, breakfast is one of my 3 favorite times of the day, by the way.
Well, we were sitting there, and we are both a little stuck, and we were putting our things down that were blocking us from being from focusing on what we were supposed to be. Do you remember? We sat and we wrote them together. You did yours, I helped you do yours, then you did mine and helped me do mine. And then we started talking, and then I started making some statements to you, and you said to me, David, if you were as popular as you think that people are talk to you, you go ahead.
No, I want to say it's because I don't want to take credit for it.
You're the one who actually said it to me.
I said it to you, but my business partner, Alex Raffi from Imagine, he challenged me. He knew Alex, so wise, right? Just so wise. And he knew how to challenge me, and he knew I had an issue worrying about my ego. And one day he looks at me and with all love, he goes, DJ, if people thought about you 10% as much as you think they do, you'd be pretty damn important.
I can see Alex saying that.
Right. And he was doing it out of love.
Yes.
Because he knew in my head, you know, I have that validation issue and the envy issue. And this is before I really was able to put it into words and say, this is what I'm struggling with. But he saw that. And yeah, I remember sharing that with you because Alex had shared that with me, and I was starting to go through that.
No, you were saying it to me.
Yes,
because I was doing the same thing you were doing when Alex shared it with you.
Absolutely. Because it's based out of love. And like maybe you're listening right now and you can relate to that. I'm telling you, a lot of people go through it. It's life changing. They aren't sitting around thinking about me.
Right.
I'm sorry. They're not sitting around thinking about you. They have their own issues. Everyone's dealing with something. So let's get over that. Let's actually root for them to get through what they're dealing with. And let's go out there and be the best us.
That's so true. And it was just comical when you said that to me, because I have shared that story so many times, and we have a core value, learn every day. By learning, you will teach, and by teaching, you will learn.
Amen.
And so what happened is Alex said it to you, and then you flipped around and gave it to me, and probably even learned more by sharing it with me, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. We both coach. I learn more every day by coaching, right? By coaching. And I want to get in because it's like, okay, how do you get over it? And it's a choice. I mean, it's a choice to root for other people. And I think one of the things that's so important right now is we need to look at our minds like we do our bodies. You know, we talk about like the mental diet. But if you think about two things with our bodies, like with our bodies, if there's two things that we need to do to get in shape, like don't overthink it. What are the two things we're supposed to do? Right? Exercise and eat better. Like we tell people, it's the same with our minds. Like,
Yeah.
do we exercise our minds? I remember first day of Leadership Henderson years ago, you and me and that, Rick Coley, our facilitator, goes on the board, draws a big circle, and then he puts a dot outside the circle. And he says, become comfortable being outside the comfort zone, right?
That's
Become
right.
comfortable being uncomfortable. Well, because that's when you grow. It's the same thing with our bodies. So like if I get done with this interview and then, tonight after work, I go out to the elliptical and I'm on the elliptical for 30 seconds and then I go inside, watch the ball game. I'm not going to get healthier because my body didn't get uncomfortable. It's the same with our minds. Like, do we let our minds get uncomfortable? Do we challenge the way we think? Do we get offended when someone tells us something like, hey, DJ, if people thought, 10% as much as you think they did, or does that challenge you? So number one, we have to challenge our minds. We have to challenge assumptions. And number two, and I think this is more important in today's world, like what's your mental diet?
Yes.
Right? What are you
Yeah.
listening to? What are you reading? What are you watching? Most importantly, what conversations are you having? If they're always negative, how's that going to be? And then I look at social media. That's like the little handy dish in the office. Like I love a Snickers, right? That little one. And the little one, the
The
mini,
mini. The
the
mini.
mini, 42 calories. If I get one of those a day and the rest of the day I watch what I eat, I'm going to be okay. And I get my little Snickers. I get satisfied. But if I walk by 20, 25 times a day and I grab one, like, that's not going to end well.
That's 1,000 calories, baby.
Right? That's not going to end well. And to me, it's like social media. Like how many people jump on social media 20, 25 times a day without thinking about it? And if you're wired by envy, if you're wired by some of the things we're talking about, most people don't jump off social media going, damn, I feel good about myself. Right? So we have to choose. We have to watch our mental diet. We have to choose to put better things in our mind. Like, what do I read every day? Right? What do I listen to? What podcast do I listen to? Most importantly, what conversations do I have?
Right.
Like,
Right.
let's talk about positive things. Let's have conversations like this to say,
Yeah.
how did I get better? So we have to watch our mental diet. We have to work out our mind. And most importantly, we have to eat better with our minds.
Yeah. So you you had this envy thing going on, and I'm sure you made some decisions based on that also that probably.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think I remember in a matter of one day, letting go of two of our three biggest clients, because you probably walked me through the fact that they're costing you money to keep them. But in your mind for years, you're like, well, they're some of our biggest billing clients, but they were terrible. And I
Taking
remember
up a tremendous amount of your time.
and more than that, they were crushing our staff, the way they were treating them.
Yep.
But in my mind, I was holding on to them because it's about, well, no, if they go, then what will that look like? What will it look like to others if we let them go? And when you start like living, like life isn't about looking like you're happy. Life's about actually being happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of us chase that, especially early on as a business person. I wanted to look like I was successful. I wanted to look like I was happy. Like success is defined differently for everybody. So don't let someone else define your success. Like you need to define your success and then go after it. And envy was in the way of me going after my success. I was trying to do what I thought the world wanted. And that was all based off the envy. And listen, that still lives in me. Like I'm wired that way. And it's a higher reward center in the brain. It's actually psychological, right? It's proven. But I can make choices. And that's what I've learned over the years is I can make choices not to worry so much about the validation from others. But it's daily choices to do.
Yeah, and we talk about this in our firm about getting consciousness of what we're doing. It's like the Snickers bar, right? It's getting consciousness of what you're actually doing, right? The one Snickers bar is 42 calories, the little mini. The 25 of them is probably over 1,000. And the difference in those two actions is just getting consciousness that even though I love that Snickers bar, I know if I eat 25 every day, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I really want to do. So I can partake in it just a little bit, but I'm not going to go too far.
I love the word consciousness that you used. That I was taught a few years ago, intent. TJ Altenberger, he's the head coach with Iowa State basketball, and they just, had a great run here just recently. And, he used to teach me, like, live with intent. Like, every single minute of the day had intent, whether it was in business or whether it was as a dad, as a father, but live with intent. And when you begin to see, like, all the wasted time, you know, 1% of our day, there's 1,440 minutes in a day. So basically, do the math, round up, 15 minutes is 1% of our day. We talk about everybody wants to be 1% better. We teach people, like, just shift 15 minutes a day. Like, if you shift 15 minutes a day from maybe crushing candy, or on social media or idle gossip, to actually 15 minutes a day that invest in you in the future, it's like 91 hours a year. Like, think about what you could do in 2.5 work weeks. I mean, it's the little things, like live with intent to be better. And I like that. Have consciousness to just make choices.
And that's how we even talk. We use that same 15 minutes, even when we're talking to people about if you spend 15 minutes on strategy every day instead of the whirlwind activities that take you away into things you don't really want to focus on, but you sort of have to. If you spend 15 minutes on that at the end of the year, that's a lot of time if you have your whole company doing that, right?
It's being conscious. 15 minutes on strategy. Oh, if leaders in business just did that, but they have to have intent to let other things go. And there's a lot of things in our mental diet that we could probably let go, and that's where you can find the 15 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. Even sort of watching sports sometimes can be a little time consuming if you partake in too much of it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just guilty, right?
Yeah,
Guilty.
I was gonna say I felt a little pain in that answer there.
I just look at that. I'm working, David, right?
All right. Hey, DJ, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today. We really appreciate your time and your wisdom. Hey, everyone, go out and hopefully DJ will fix the buying of the book problem, but you can get on his website. You want to give your website?
Yeah, it's xsosofsuccess.com. xsosofsuccess.com.
Okay, it's xsosofsuccess.com, and you can buy the book on there, right?
Yes, and there's a way to reach out to us as well if you want bulk orders. But yep, get a hold of us. We'll get you a copy for sure.
Yeah, and I would just tell anybody who's doing or training leaders, this is probably a great book to train leaders from. A lot of simple, easy lessons for them to understand and digest. This is a Strategy Sherpa Show. DJ, thank you very much. This is David Chavez. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Hey, everyone. This is David Chavez. This is Strategy Sherpa Show. Just wrapping up the show today. Just finished up with DJ Allen. What a great guest. xsosofsuccess.com is his email address. And if you're interested in the book, and hopefully he'll fix the Amazon problem so we can get, you can buy the book. I'll tell you, it's a really valuable book. You can email me or email us at the show if you would like a copy. We'll get a hold of GJ and have him reach out to you and get it out to you if you're interested. Just wanted to share with you some of the people that are coming up on the show. Adam Berry is the Bear Process Safety in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He is going to come and talk to us about his company and what he's been doing and some of the mistakes he's made growing his company. Obviously a very humble person. He came from Warren Sager, one of our coaches, and he told me I had to interview this guy because of his humility. Then we have Michelle May. I wanted to remind you, she is coming back. She had suggested this book the last time she was on here, and she sent it to me, Eat What You Love What You Eat. And it's a really powerful book. I've already read it once. I've listened to it once. I'm actually consuming it with a little more detail right now. Even just listening to it and doing my speed read through it has been very valuable to me. It's been really interested to give me some consciousness about some of my eating behavior. And DJ was just talking about that just a little while ago. So very, very good for us to think about. So DJ, what he was talking about is he was talking about envying other people and what they're doing, envying your competition and having judgment against them because you want to be better than them. Envy, and which just causes you to copy them. Businesses are trying to create uniqueness and they end up copying them because of envy. I would tell you most of the time, it's hard to explain that to clients. That's why they're doing it. But when they start to really look at it, they start to understand that it doesn't really matter what they're doing. We just need to be great at what we're doing. Most entrepreneurs have a very good idea of what the customer needs are. After they start growing, that starts to diminish because they get further away from their customer. And it becomes harder and harder for them to have those gut reactions. And that's what we do, is we help them think about the larger picture and how to really scale and grow without using the gut as much that may not be working as well as it used to. When you're in the small stage, and I would say that that's probably all the way up to about 10 to 20 million, you still can make a lot of gut decisions and be really right. But after a while, those gut decisions just don't work out as well as we thought they would. So we really help you plan out your company and so you can scale that out and not be involved in as many of the details of the day-to-day operations as you may be right now. And we have some webinars on that. If you get on our website and you go to events, you can see all the events we have on there. The next one is to improve your cash position. It's Warren Sager doing the seven simple key financial levers. Excuse me, got a little hiccups going on here. So then we have a scaling up workshop on May 8th. We just did a scaling up workshop in Portland. I want to thank those companies for coming out. We had a really great conversation. We keep our workshops down pretty low. We about to 15 people. And what we found by doing that is it really allows us to have in-depth conversations. Every time we do a large one where we have maybe 40 to 50 people, even 100, 200 we've had at one before. But what ends up happening is we lose the ability to touch and help that individual company. And we like to help them in these workshops. So Ted Serrata and I are doing that in Portland on May 8th. And we have some more throughout the year. So you can get on our website and you can check that out. But then on the 23rd, Preston Law is going to be doing a webinar about mastering efficiency, process-driven tactics for cost savings. And he is a Six Sigma black belt, and he's going to be sharing his wisdom around processes. Pretty amazing guy, really understands processes on a whole different level than even myself. As a CPA, we audit processes. We actually look more at processes than we do the financial information. I know that's hard for people to understand when you're auditing. You do look at it, but more of the process, because crap in is crap out. And if I don't have a really good process, the stuff I put into the process ends up coming out that way, very much the same way. So processes really have to be efficient and effective at delivering what you're trying to deliver with them. Preston's going to be talking a little bit about that. Mastering time management on the 13th of June. But let's come back to DJ's comments and about envy. And I want to remind us all, having envy is probably being human. So I don't know if you should judge yourself for having envy, because it pops into our head every once in a while. But what DJ was saying is that when you start having those negative thoughts, when you start feeling like I'm jealous of somebody, and you start feeling like you have to do something because they're doing it better than you, ask yourself the question, am I being envious of them, or do they really have something that I need to be considering for my company and what my customers' needs really are? If you have a really good strategy, that question will probably be a lot easier for you. But if you don't, then that's probably a sign that you need to pay attention to how you're feeling about things and what you're consuming your mind with. I think DJ talked about that a little bit. What are you reading right now? How often do you read? I read probably a couple books a month. All the books I read aren't great books. I don't really share quite a few that I read because it gave me a little bit information, but the really good books, I just try to get one thing out of them that really could impact my company. And I think that that's a really good way of thinking about it, is just getting one thing out of those books and that could help you improve. I don't need to implement everything in every book, but there's some books that's worth implementing and spending the time on. You may want to read those books several times so you can really digest it. What I'm trying to do is feed my unconscious mind so that when these situations come up, I can get into consciousness and have some kind of way of understanding, hey, I maybe need to go back and read that book, or I need to get more into it. This is Strategy Sherpa Show, and we're getting close to wrapping this up, but I just wanted to remind you that next week we have Bear Processes. We have Adam Berry, and he's going to be talking. He's out of Baton Rouge, and it's Bear Process Safety. And it's about safety in the businesses. So it'll be really interesting. I'm sure you have some great stories. And this is Strategy Sherpa Show, and we'll be seeing you next week. Thank you very much for joining us today.